The sky over the planet Zarian was painted with streaks of orange and red. The sun was setting, but the war showed no sign of slowing. Explosions lit the horizon, and the air was thick with smoke and dust. This was no ordinary battle. It was a fight for survival, for honor, and for the future of many worlds. Captain Jason Reed moved cautiously through the rocky terrain. His human soldiers were tired and battle-worn. They had been fighting alongside alien allies for weeks, against a ruthless enemy called the Krell. The Krell were fierce warriors, known for their brutal tactics and strong desire to conquer. Jason's team was part of the alliance that protected the outer sectors of the galaxy. They worked together with various alien species, some tall and thin, some short and tough. But today, even the strongest allies seemed to falter. Ahead, Jason spotted movement. A group of allied soldiers was retreating quickly, their faces filled with fear. They left behind one of their own, an alien warrior who lay on the ground. Wounded and unable to move, Jason's heart sank. The fallen alien was Kazel, a proud warrior from the Zorth race. The Zorth were known for their strength and skill in battle. Kazel was no ordinary soldier. He was a leader, respected by many for his bravery. But now, Kazel was paralyzed. A heavy blast had hit his spine during the fight. His body was still, and he could not speak. The other soldiers had left him behind, thinking he was a lost cause. The harsh truth was clear. No one wanted to risk their own lives to save him. Jason looked around. The enemy was closing in fast. The retreat was ordered. Everyone was afraid. The Alliance was losing ground. Jason's commanding officer shouted for the soldiers to fall back. Leave him. The officer said loudly, "We can't hold this position. Our mission is more important." Jason felt a cold weight in his chest. Could he really leave Kazel to die? The human soldier took a step forward. He didn't care about orders now. His mind was clear. Saving Kazel was the right thing to do. "Sir, I'm going after him," Jason said firmly. His officer frowned. "Captain, that's suicide. We have to regroup. You can't save him." But Jason had made his decision. He grabbed his gear, took a deep breath, and moved towards Kazel's position. The ground was rough and uneven, full of broken rocks and burning debris. Bullets zipped past him. Explosions shook the earth. But Jason did not stop. He pushed forward, eyes locked on the fallen warrior. When he reached Kazel, Jason saw the alien's face clearly for the first time. The blue skin was marked with scars, and his large eyes were closed. His powerful muscles were still, lifeless. Yet something in Jason's heart refused to believe Kazel was gone. Gently, Jason lifted Kazel's body. The weight was heavier than expected. Kazel's armor was thick, designed for battle, not rescue. But Jason was strong, and he used every ounce of his strength to carry the alien. Suddenly, a group of Krell soldiers appeared, blocking Jason's path. Their armor was black and shiny. Their weapons pointed at him. "Drop him," their leader growled, voice cold and harsh. "You cannot save your friend. Leave him and surrender." Jason didn't hesitate. He aimed his rifle and fired. Bullets found their targets, forcing the enemy to take cover. "Move," Jason shouted to himself, dragging Kazel behind a large rock. His heart pounded. The fight was not over. The Krell were closing in, and Jason was alone, carrying a heavy burden. But he would not give up. As he moved, Jason thought about why no one else had tried to save Kazel. Fear was easy to understand. The battle was dangerous, and the mission was critical. But there was more. The alien warrior was from a different race, one that many in the Alliance didn't fully trust. Jason knew the truth. Sometimes fear and distrust made soldiers forget their duty to each other. But Jason was different. He believed in honor. He believed in fighting for every life, no matter the species. The sun was almost gone now, and darkness crept over the battlefield. Jason needed a safe place, a shelter where he could tend to Kazel's wounds and call for help. Nearby, he saw an old abandoned outpost. It was damaged but still standing. Jason decided to take Kazel there. The journey was hard. Every step was a struggle. But Jason kept moving forward. The enemy fire slowed down, but the danger was still very real. Inside the outpost, Jason found medical supplies left behind by the previous defenders. He worked quickly, cleaning Kazel's wounds and setting broken bones the best he could. Hours passed. Jason sat beside Kazel, watching over him. The alien warrior's breathing was weak but steady. Jason hoped he was still alive inside. Suddenly, Kazel's eyes flickered open. They were filled with pain and confusion. For a moment, the two warriors stared at each other, one human, one alien, bound by fate and courage. Jason smiled gently. "You're safe now. I won't leave you." Kazel tried to speak but only made a weak sound. Jason realized the paralysis had taken away his voice, despite the language difference. Jason felt a connection with Kazel. They were both soldiers, both fighters, and both had a choice to make, to give up or to fight together. In the distance, Jason heard the sound of approaching ships, reinforcements, or enemies. He stood up, ready to defend his new friend. Jason knew one thing for sure. He had chosen the hard path, but he would carry Kazel to safety, no matter what. And in this dark moment, a new story was beginning, one of bravery, loyalty, and the true meaning of being a hero. The soft hum of engines filled the dark sky as Jason stood watch outside the broken outpost. Kazel lay unconscious on the makeshift bed inside, wrapped carefully in blankets to keep warm. Jason's mind raced. Reinforcements or enemy scouts. He could not afford to be caught off guard. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Then, distant voices approached. Jason's grip tightened on his rifle, and he prepared for the worst. A group of soldiers emerged from the shadows, but they were not Krell. They were from Jason's own alliance, his fellow humans and alien allies. Relief washed over him, but it was short-lived. The squad leader approached quickly, eyes scanning Kazel's still form. "Captain Reed," he said, voice low but firm. "Orders are to leave the injured behind. We can't waste resources on those who can't fight." Jason's heart clenched. He's more than just a soldier. He's a leader, and he needs help. The leader shook his head. "You're risking the whole mission for one alien. You must come back with us." Jason looked around at the exhausted faces of the soldiers. He knew the truth. Fear and doubt had turned the alliance cold. They didn't trust Kazel's people completely, and they saw saving him as a burden. But Jason refused to back down. "I'm not leaving him," he said firmly. "I'll carry him myself if I have to." The leader sighed but nodded. "Very well, but be careful." As the squad moved back toward the main camp, Jason prepared for the long journey ahead. Carrying Kazel was harder than he expected. The alien's armor was heavy, and his body was limp. Every step was a test of endurance, but Jason's determination was stronger than his muscles. He believed saving Kazel was not just an act of kindness, but a duty. Along the way, they encountered more dangers. Small Krell patrols tried to ambush them, firing from behind rocks and trees. Jason fired back, covering the retreat with steady hands and calm nerves. Kazel stirred once or twice, weakly trying to speak. Jason caught the sounds but couldn't understand the language. Still, he spoke softly, hoping the tone would comfort. The alien warrior died as night fell. The group found shelter in a dense forest. The trees were tall and ancient, their thick branches blocking much of the sky. Here, Jason hoped they could rest. But rest was not easy. Jason set up a small perimeter, guard and kept watch while others slept. His thoughts returned again and again to Kazel, the proud alien who had been left for dead. Why had no one else cared? Was it because Kazel was different? Because he was from another race? The alliance was supposed to be united, but Jason saw cracks in their trust. He decided he would prove them wrong. The next day, Jason found a small stream nearby. He carefully washed Kazel's face and hands, trying to ease the warrior's pain. As he did, he noticed strange markings on Kazel's skin, symbols that seemed like tattoos or scars. Curious, Jason asked, "What do these mean?" Kazel opened his eyes slightly, his gaze meeting Jason's, though the words were not clear. The meaning was pride, honor, and sacrifice. Jason nodded silently. He understood. Kazel was a soldier with a story, a past filled with battles and loyalty. Despite their differences, Jason felt a bond growing between them. It was built on trust and respect, not words. Suddenly, a sharp noise broke the quiet. Jason froze. Someone was coming. He moved quickly, signaling the others to hide. From behind a tree, a small scout group of Krell appeared. They were searching, dangerous and alert. Jason raised his rifle, ready to defend Kazel and the group. The Krell didn't notice them and moved past, but the warning was clear. The enemy was close, and the fight was not over. That night, Jason sat beside Kazel again. The alien warrior was awake now, blinking slowly. Jason tried to speak in a calm voice. "You will be safe soon. I promise." Kazel's lips moved slightly, forming a word Jason could not understand, but the tone was hopeful. Jason smiled. Days passed, and their journey continued. The group moved toward the Alliance base, carefully avoiding enemy patrols and dangerous zones. Jason carried Kazel whenever he could, sharing supplies and stories with the soldiers around them. Some were kind and curious about Kazel. Others kept their distance. Still doubtful of the alien's loyalty, Jason faced many questions. Why risk so much for an alien? What did he hope to gain? Jason's answer was simple. He saw a fellow warrior in need, and that was enough. Finally, they reached the edge of the Alliance base. Tall walls and bright lights marked safety. But even here, Jason's challenges were not over. The medical officers looked at Kazel with suspicion. "His injuries are severe," one said. "It may be too late." Jason refused to give up. "Let me help him," he said. "I believe he can recover." The officers exchanged doubtful glances, but agreed to let Jason assist. Inside the medical bay, Jason worked alongside the doctors. He learned about Kazel's body and the alien technology that could aid healing. Kazel's condition was serious. The paralysis was real. But there was hope if they acted quickly. Jason stayed by Kazel's side, offering comfort and strength. The warrior's proud silence began to soften, replaced by quiet trust. One day, as Jason cleaned the wounds, Kazel's hand twitched slightly. It was a small movement, but a sign of life. Jason's heart leaped. The doctors watched in surprise and hope. Jason whispered, "You're not alone, Kazel. We will fight this together." Outside the bay, rumors spread. Some soldiers questioned Jason's loyalty, wondering why he risked so much for an alien. Others admired his courage. Jason ignored the whispers. His mission was clear. He had chosen to save Kazel not because of orders, but because it was right. And as the days went by, a new chapter began, a chapter of trust, courage, and a bond that would change everything. Jason knew their fight was far from over, but for the first time, he believed they could win together. The sterile white walls of the medical bay were a quiet contrast to the chaos Jason had left behind on the battlefield. Here, far from the gunfire and danger, a different kind of battle was beginning. One for life and hope. Jason sat beside Kazel's bed, watching the alien warrior breathe steadily. The paralysis had robbed Kazel of his strength, but not his spirit. Jason saw it in the way Kazel's eyes flickered when the human spoke softly, and in the tense grip of his fingers when he tried to move. The doctors worked quickly, advanced. Human medical technology was combined with some of the alien healing devices Jason had brought from the battlefield. It was a strange mixture of science and hope. Despite the progress, Kazel's pride made him silent. He was a warrior, after all, and to rely on others felt like weakness. He refused to speak to anyone except Jason. Jason understood. He, too, knew what it meant to be strong and proud. But he also knew that strength came from trust and friendship, not just muscle and armor. Day by day, Jason stayed by Kazel's side. He learned about the Zorth culture from what little Kazel would share through gestures, drawings, and simple words. Kazel's people valued honor above all else. They were fierce protectors of their clans and believed deeply in loyalty. Jason saw a reflection of humanity in them, different in shape and skin, but alike in heart. One afternoon, as Jason gently moved Kazel's arm during physical therapy. The alien winced. "I'm sorry," Jason said quietly. "I don't want to hurt you." Kazel's deep eyes met his. Then, with slow effort, Kazel nodded. It was a small moment, but for Jason, it was a breakthrough. The alien was beginning to trust him. At night, the ward was silent except for the soft sounds of machines and breathing. Jason often found himself talking to Kazel, sharing stories about Earth and its people. He told tales of wide oceans, tall mountains, and endless skies. Kazel listened, eyes wide with wonder. Though he could not speak much, he would occasionally try to mimic words or ask questions with a curious look. Jason smiled, feeling a warmth he had not expected. This was more than healing. It was friendship, but not everyone in the Alliance was happy about it. Rumors spread among the soldiers and officers that Jason was wasting time on an alien. Some called Kazel a lost cause. Others whispered that trusting the Zorth could be dangerous. Jason ignored the whispers. He knew what he was doing was right. One day, a high-ranking officer came to the medical bay. "Captain Reed," she said, "your actions are under review. You disobeyed direct orders to save Kazel. This could lead to serious consequences." Jason stood tall. "I don't regret it. Kazel is alive because I acted." The officer's expression softened slightly. "Your courage is noted, but the Alliance must consider the bigger picture." Jason nodded. "I understand, but sometimes the bigger picture starts with one life." The officer left, leaving Jason to return to Kazel's side. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, Kazel's body began to respond. The paralysis lessened. With Jason's help, Kazel learned to move his fingers, then his hands. One morning, Jason entered the room to find Kazel sitting up in bed, eyes alert and clear. The alien warrior looked at Jason, then tried to speak. His voice was weak but clear. "Thank you." Jason's heart swelled with pride and relief. He smiled. "You're welcome, friend." The word friend surprised Kazel. He looked thoughtful and then nodded slowly. This simple exchange marked a turning point. Kazel was no longer just a patient. He was a partner. Their bond grew stronger as they trained together. Jason helped Kazel rebuild his strength through exercises, while Kazel taught Jason about Zorth combat techniques, simple moves to improve balance and focus. Jason found himself learning more than he had ever expected. The Zorth warriors, discipline and honor reminded him of the best parts of humanity. One evening, as the two sat watching the stars through a large window, Kazel spoke again, this time more clearly. "You saved me when no one else would," he said in broken English. "I owe you life." Jason shook his head. "We owe each other. You'll fight again, and I'll be there." The words felt heavy with promise, but even as they grew closer, the outside world remained dangerous. Some soldiers still doubted Kazel's loyalty. Others feared what his survival might mean for the fragile Alliance. Jason knew they faced more battles ahead, not just on the battlefield, but within their own ranks. Yet, he believed that trust and friendship could change everything. One morning, Kazel stood on his own for the first time. His legs trembled but held firm. Jason helped steady him. "You're stronger than you think." Kazel looked at Jason with fierce determination. "I will fight again. For my people, for you." Jason smiled. "And I'll fight with you." Their hands met in a firm grip, a silent vow between two warriors from different worlds. Outside the medical bay, the Alliance slowly began to notice the change. Kazel's recovery inspired hope. His courage, matched with Jason's loyalty, showed what was possible when species united. But danger was never far away. Jason knew their greatest challenge was yet to come. Together, they prepared for the battles ahead, united by healing, friendship, and the promise of a better future. The morning light streamed through the large windows of the Alliance Command Center, casting long shadows across the sleek metal floors. Jason sat quietly, his thoughts heavy. Kazel was recovering well, but the peace was fragile. Jason knew the true battle was only just beginning. Suddenly, an urgent message arrived. The Alliance leaders requested Jason and Kazel to attend a high-level meeting immediately. Something was wrong. As they entered the conference room, Tension hung thick in the air. Representatives from various species sat around a large circular table. Faces were grim, eyes filled with suspicion and unease. The commander of the Alliance, a tall alien with silver skin and sharp eyes, spoke first. Captain Reed, Kazel, recent intelligence has uncovered disturbing information. Jason's heart skipped a beat. The commander continued, Kazel, it appears your people's council has orders to keep you quiet. You witnessed actions that could endanger the Alliance. Some want to silence you. Kazel's jaw tightened, his proud eyes flashing with anger and hurt. I only wish to protect my people and the Alliance. Jason placed a steady hand on Kazel's shoulder. We will find a way. But the room's atmosphere was cold. Some leaders nodded in agreement with the commander. Trust was thin, and fear ran deep. Jason felt a weight pressing down on him. Kazel was no longer just a patient or a friend. He was a threat to those hiding dark secrets. The meeting ended with a warning. Kazel was to remain under strict supervision, and Jason was to report all his actions. Back in the medical bay, Jason saw the pain in Kazel's eyes, the betrayal. Cut deep. We will not let this end like that, Jason said firmly. Kazel nodded slowly. I will fight, but alone. I'm weak. Jason made a plan. They needed to expose the truth. They needed allies. Jason reached out to his trusted comrades, soldiers who had seen his bravery and respected his choices. Together, they would uncover the hidden plot. At night, Jason and Kazel met in secret. They shared stories and strategies, building trust stronger than ever. Kazel revealed what he had witnessed, a plan by some Alliance leaders to betray certain planets for political gain. Innocent lives were at risk. Jason listened carefully. This is bigger than we thought. We have to act fast. The danger grew closer. One evening, as Jason left their meeting place, he noticed unfamiliar faces watching him, shadowy figures who didn't belong. He quickened his pace, heart pounding. The betrayal was real, and it was coming for them. Meanwhile, Kazel's condition improved, but the pressure was unbearable. Guards watched his every move. The isolation was meant to break his spirit, yet Kazel stood firm, remembering the courage Jason had shown when no one else would help. One day, Jason received a coded message, a call for help. One of their allies had been captured while investigating the conspiracy. Jason knew it was time. He gathered his small team, including some loyal alien warriors and human soldiers. Their mission, rescue their comrade and reveal the truth to the Alliance. The plan was risky. They had to infiltrate a heavily guarded facility controlled by a corrupt faction within their own Alliance. As they approached the compound under the cover of darkness, Jason's mind was focused and sharp. Kazel was by his side, stronger now, ready to fight. Inside, the facility was cold and impersonal. Security cameras swept the hallways. Guards patrolled with heavy weapons. Jason and Kazel moved carefully, relying on stealth and strategy. They found their captured friend locked in a small cell, tired but alive. Let's get out of here, Jason whispered. Suddenly, alarms blared. Their presence had been detected. The corrupt officers had anticipated the rescue. Jason and his team fought fiercely, exchanging fire and using every skill they had. Kazel's strength and combat knowledge surprised the enemy. Together, he and Jason made an unstoppable pair. They cleared a path to the exit, but as they ran, one of the corrupt officers confronted them, a man who once was a respected leader. Stop. You will face justice for your crimes, the officer shouted. Jason stood firm. Justice means truth, and we will make it known. In a tense moment, Kazel charged forward, disarming the officer with swift precision, but refusing to harm him. Jason took the officer's weapon and pointed it at him. Tell your leaders the truth will come out. The officer hesitated, then nodded slowly. They escaped the compound just as reinforcements arrived. Back at the Alliance base, Jason and Kazel delivered the evidence they had gathered. The room was silent as the leaders reviewed the files. Proof of corruption and betrayal. The Alliance was shaken to its core. But thanks to Jason's courage and Kazel's strength, the conspiracy was exposed. Those responsible were removed from power. Kazel was no longer seen as a liability, but as a hero. Jason's name was cleared, and his actions praised. The bond between human and alien warrior had changed the fate of many worlds. As the Alliance began to rebuild trust and cooperation, Jason and Kazel stood side by side, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The fight for justice had been hard, but it was worth every sacrifice. Together, they had proven that loyalty and courage could overcome even the deepest betrayals. The days that followed the exposure of the conspiracy were filled with change. The Alliance was shaken, but it was also beginning to heal. Leaders who had once doubted Kazel and Jason now saw them as symbols of courage and hope. Together, they had faced betrayal and danger, and together they had triumphed. Jason stood on the balcony of the Alliance headquarters, looking out at the stars. The sky was clear, and distant planets twinkled like tiny lights. Beside him, Kazel leaned on his walking stick, a sign of progress from his paralysis. Though not fully healed, Kazel was stronger every day. Jason smiled and said, "You've come a long way, my friend." Kazel returned the smile, nodding. "I owe you more than words can say." The two warriors had formed a bond deeper than most could understand. It was a bond built on trust, sacrifice, and shared struggles. The Alliance was beginning to change, too. New treaties were signed, bringing together humans and many alien species in stronger, more open partnerships. Walls of suspicion and fear were breaking down. At the center of this new era were Jason and Kazel, proof that unity was possible, even between the most different of beings. One morning, a ceremony was held to honor the heroes. Representatives from various worlds gathered in a grand hall filled with light and music. The air was full of hope. Jason stood tall as the Alliance commander stepped forward to speak. For bravery, the commander said, for loyalty beyond borders, and for the courage to stand when others would fall, we honor Captain Jason Reed and Kazel of the Zorth. Applause filled the hall. Jason felt a swell of pride but also humility. He looked to Kazel, who stood beside him, eyes shining with gratitude. After the ceremony, Jason and Kazel walked through the bustling streets of the capital city. They talked about the future, about how they could help build a galaxy where all could live in peace. Their friendship had become a symbol, not just of hope, but of what could be achieved when fear was replaced by trust. But their work was far from over. Though the conspiracy had been broken, other challenges remained. There were still those who doubted, those who feared change. Jason and Kazel knew that lasting peace required constant effort. Together, they began training new soldiers, humans and aliens alike, teaching them not just to fight, but to understand and respect one another. Jason often thought back to the battlefield where he had first found Kazel, paralyzed and left behind. It was hard to believe how far they had come. Kazel, too, remembered that day. He had once thought his life was over, but Jason's courage had given him a second chance. One evening, as they stood watching the twin moons rise over the city, Kazel spoke softly. "You saved me when everyone else refused. You showed me the true meaning of loyalty." Jason nodded. "We saved each other." The silence between them was comfortable, full of unspoken promises. In the years that followed, their story inspired countless others. Tales were told across star systems of the human soldier who risked everything to save a paralyzed alien warrior, and the friendship that changed the fate of the galaxy. Jason and Kazel became ambassadors for peace, traveling to distant worlds to share their message. They faced new dangers, new battles, but they faced them together, because they knew that true strength came not just from weapons or armor, but from the bonds forged in trust and courage. And so, from a battlefield of broken loyalties, a new alliance was born, one that would stand strong for generations to come. Jason looked at Kazel and said with a smile, "This is just the beginning." Kazel smiled back. "Yes, together, we will build a better future, under the stars." Two warriors, human and alien, stood united. Their journey had started with a single act of kindness. Now, it had become a beacon of hope for all. The galaxy was vast, and the future uncertain. But Jason and Kazel faced it with one heart and one purpose: to protect, to fight, and to never leave a comrade behind.